You are not unattractive because of how you look. You are unattractive because of how people feel after spending time with you. And most people never realize this. They keep trying to fix the surface. Better clothes, better words, better timing. But the real signal was never visible to begin with. It lives in the emotional trace you leave behind. Some people walk into a room and nothing about them stands out. Yet others feel calmer around them, lighter, more open, while others who seem completely normal slowly drain the energy of everyone nearby. Not in obvious ways, not in loud ways, but through small repeated patterns that stack over time. And that is where attraction is quietly decided. Not in big moments, not in first impressions, but in micro interactions, tone, pauses, attention, presence, the things people feel but cannot easily explain. And when those signals consistently create tension, dismissal, or a subtle sense of discomfort, people do not argue with you. They do not confront you. They simply step back. They reply less. They open up less. They become a little more distant each time. And from your perspective, nothing is clearly wrong, which makes it even harder to see. But it is not random. It is not bad luck. It is a pattern. And once you see that pattern, you stop asking, how do I look to others, and start asking a better question. What do people feel after being around me? Because that answer explains everything. It rarely looks like a big mistake. It shows up in ordinary moments you do not question. You open your phone after a long day and scroll. You reply to someone with a slightly negative tone because you are tired. You jump into a conversation before the other person finishes because a thought feels urgent. You share your own experience quickly because you want to relate. You hint at your struggles in a way that also signals your value. None of these feel wrong in the moment. They feel natural, even reasonable. But the problem is not the action. It is the accumulation. The human brain does not judge you based on one interaction. It builds a pattern from repeated signals, and those signals shape an emotional experience over time. Maybe it feels heavy. Maybe it feels competitive. Maybe it feels one-sided. Maybe it feels subtly tense in a way that is hard to explain. And the other person does not sit down and analyze it. They simply adjust. They respond a little shorter. They share a little less. They stop initiating as often. And eventually, the connection fades without a clear reason. From your side, it feels confusing. Nothing obvious went wrong. There was no conflict, no clear rejection, just a slow distance that you cannot quite explain. And this is where most people misunderstand the situation. They think they need more confidence, more charm, more effort, but the issue is not intensity. It is misalignment. Your behavior is trying to solve your internal state, your stress, your need to be seen, your need to connect. But in doing so, it creates small amounts of friction externally. And those small amounts repeated over time become the reason people step back. Not because you are flawed, but because the system you are running produces the wrong experience for others. The shift begins when you stop focusing on what you are trying to express and start noticing what others are actually experiencing. Because attraction is not something you declare. It is something other people feel in your presence. And that feeling follows a simple rule most people overlook. Every interaction either adds energy, preserves energy, or drains it. And once you see this, a lot of confusing social patterns suddenly make sense. People are not avoiding you because you are imperfect. They are avoiding the cost of interacting with you. If the pattern they associate with you feels heavy, dismissive, or slightly tense, their brain learns to step back automatically. No explanation needed. And this is not a moral judgment. It is a biological response. Humans are wired to move toward what feels safe and easy, and away from what feels effortful or unstable, even in subtle ways. This is why someone can be intelligent, successful, even kind in intention, but still feel difficult to be around, because intention does not override experience, and experience is built from patterns, not isolated moments. Once you understand that, the problem becomes less personal and more mechanical. You are not trying to become a different person. You are adjusting the output of your behavior system. Small repeated signals that either create ease or create friction. And that realization changes the approach completely. Instead of forcing confidence or trying to impress, you begin to remove what drains, stabilize what feels inconsistent, and allow space for others to feel comfortable. And in that space, connection happens more naturally without being forced. Instead of trying to fix your personality, build a simple system that changes the signals you repeat. Keep it minimal so you can actually follow it. Step 1, reduce friction. Pick one behavior that often drains others without you noticing. Most of the time, it is interrupting, over-explaining, or shifting the focus back to yourself too quickly. Apply a pause rule. When someone finishes speaking, wait 2 seconds before you respond. It feels small, but it changes everything. People feel heard, the conversation slows down, and you stop reacting impulsively. Step 2, stabilize your presence. Your body communicates before your words do, so keep it simple, posture relaxed but upright, eye contact steady but not intense, movement slower than your impulse. This is not about looking confident. It is about signaling that you are regulated. And when you are regulated, others feel safe without knowing why. Step 3, rebalance attention. Most conversations become draining when attention is uneven. So use a simple structure. Ask one follow-up question before sharing your own story. Let the other person complete their thought fully. Then respond briefly and return space. Imagine a stick figure interaction. One figure speaks, the other waits, nods, then replies in a short line and gives space back. No rushing, no overlapping, just a clean rhythm. This is not about being passive. It is about creating flow. And flow is what makes interactions feel effortless. The key is not doing more. It is removing what creates tension and repeating what creates ease. Small adjustments, applied consistently, will change how people experience you far more than any burst of effort ever could. If you stay with this system long enough, the changes will not feel dramatic at first, but they will be noticeable in a quieter way. Conversations stop feeling like something you have to manage and start feeling smoother on their own. People respond with less resistance. They share more without being pushed. They linger a little longer instead of looking for an exit. And nothing about this comes from trying harder. It comes from removing the small signals that used to create tension. You also begin to feel a shift internally, less pressure to prove yourself, less urgency to fill silence, less overthinking after interactions, because you are no longer performing. You are operating from a stable pattern, and that stability compounds over time. Relationships become easier to maintain, misunderstandings decrease, and you stop replaying conversations in your head wondering what went wrong. The progress is subtle but consistent. Like lowering the background noise in every interaction, everything becomes clearer, lighter, more natural. And this is where most people get it wrong. They look for intensity, big changes, quick transformations. But sustainable attraction is built the same way as any long-term result, through small, repeatable actions that align with how people actually feel, not how you think you should act. Consistency over intensity, always, because intensity fades. But a well-designed system keeps working even on your off days. You do not need to become more impressive, more confident, or more perfect. You need to become easier to be around, because in the end, people do not remember the exact words you said. They remember how their body felt in your presence, whether they could relax, whether they felt heard, whether the interaction gave them energy or quietly took it away. And once you see that clearly, improvement stops being complicated. You are not fixing who you are. You are adjusting the pattern you repeat. And patterns are something you can actually change, slowly, intentionally, without forcing yourself into something unnatural. If you have ever noticed this loop in your own life, type system in the comments. Sometimes naming the pattern is the first real step to changing it. And if you want to keep refining how you think, work, and connect without chasing unrealistic standards, subscribe and we will keep building systems that work with your mind, not against it.